Being Neighbourly podcasts.
What's this guy's doing? Chopping some onion?
That's the sound of morning kitchen preparations in Casa Cucina restaurant in Causeway Bay neighbourhood in Hong Kong. And this is the location for Being Neighbourly's very first podcast. So welcome to this happy launch episode of Being Neighbourly Podcasts. Keep listening to hear my interview with the founder and executive chef who tells a curious tale of the ideas behind this Italian restaurant that has a few twists in its menu.
My name's Anthony Cheung. I'm the chef owner of Casa Cucina. The restaurant's been open for about 5 years now. We're in the heart of Causeway Bay on Fashion Walk. So I moved here 2 years ago from Sai Pun. I just love this place because I was born around here. I lived around here for the first 15 years of my life. I was here and this is my turf.
Well, that's a perfect answer there, Anthony. And we see the prominent facade that you've got. You can even see the Royal Hong Kong Yacht Club from here. You're right on the harbour.
Yes, perfect view of the harbour, especially the sunset, and also fireworks.
That's amazing. And knowing this area so well, do you kind of feel like you're back home? How would you compare this to Sai Pun?
Well, first of all, I've been here for a long time, since as a kid. It's like home to me. I mean, Sai Pun is also nice, but then it doesn't have that bonding with me. It's a personal thing, yeah.
Have you still got lots of friends and family around here?
Yeah. So I go out to Patterson Street, I see friends over there, lots of them.
Now, some of your employees are in the kitchen at the moment. We are doing this interview just before your lunch service.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at what they're preparing and around the restaurant.
Sure, let's do that. Okay, so we've got some apples there. That's for our braised radish with apple, which goes with the duck confit. It's a very traditional French dish, yeah.
And is this a sauce or...?
Yeah, this pot here we're doing the vegetables base for our meat sauce. We're gonna do a ox cheek stew. Yes, we reduce some tomatoes, tomato paste, and we also grill all our vegetables to get the caramelization going. So it's got that natural sweetness going in.
It smells pretty sweet, actually.
It does, yeah.
Okay, let's have a look around the restaurant. Let's walk in. You've got some counter seats right there with the view of the harbour across the road.
So we deliberately did this because the past tenant had this whole thing open to the air. It used to be a pub. So I thought, why don't you just put a big glass window here so you can enjoy your lunch while looking out to the Victoria Harbour.
Yep, it certainly looks good, and there's a lot of light coming through. So moving to the back of the restaurant, there are also lots of tables and booths, and we are entering the private room where we're doing our interview. So your background in learning cuisine goes back really in its main part to the International Culinary Centre in New York. When were you there and how long was that course?
I was there 2015, it was December. The whole story was I walked out of my old job. It just wasn't my thing. So
let's get on to that now, which is that you moved, and this is an amazing one. You went from a career of accountancy, which you trained for, and suddenly a change of direction.
It wasn't a sudden thing. It was an accumulation. When you know that it's not for you, it's not for you. I mean, nothing against the job. I've met some of the most brightest people in that field. But for me, it was a bit like wasting my life day by day. So I would say this, I don't know whether I should, but if I'm still an accountant, I'll probably be in jail.
Okay. Well, not every industry or career is for everyone. But what drew you to think seriously about culinary things in terms of getting the qualification in New York and making a career out of it?
So I walked out and I asked myself the question that really matters. If money wasn't in the picture, what would I be doing? The answer's obvious. It's cooking. So I did a quick dive into chefs who did a similar pivot. First one that pops out was David Chang. He's a renowned chef in America. He was already my guy because he's unapologetic, rule-breaking, the kind of cook who would add a whole packet of MSG from instant ramen into a French omelette on live TV, and it's total guts. It proves to be tasty too. So he happens to be studied at the French Culinary Institute that later became the International Culinary Centre. So that's where I started. So I looked at the school fees and against my bank account back then, do it.
So did you know that after you did that training that you would come back to Hong Kong? Actually, you ended up spending some time in a very top restaurant in New York. Was that straight away?
I worked at Jean Georges.
This is the very successful restaurant group that's under Jean-Georges von Richten. Yeah. There was a Vong restaurant in the Mandarin Oriental in Hong Kong some years ago.
Some years ago, that was, yeah. So the pivot happened when I was in my 30s. I was competing with kids as young as 18 years old.
Right.
And I knew that I had to build up my CV as soon as possible. So I was working while I was also doing culinary school because I needed to excel in this. I started off at Jean Georges. It wasn't Jean Georges to start off with. It was the sister restaurant called Nougatine. I really liked the vibe over there. It's a casual restaurant. They're really happening. Like there would be like 4 chefs taking on 170 covers every night. But I actually asked to get moved on to Jean Georges because I wanted the fine dining experience also. So they had to assess me, and then eventually I got there. Reason why I want to open a restaurant is I love the restaurant vibe. It feels like going to a party every night with like everyone around you. All that noise, all that happening.
Did you know, even while you're in the Culinary Institute, that you were aiming to open your own restaurant?
Yeah.
But meanwhile, after working in Jean Georges and Nougatine, both of those places, you also worked in an eminent restaurant. We've already mentioned the Mandarin Oriental once. We're going to mention it again for the landmark Mandarin Oriental. You worked at Amber, one of the most accoladed, well, it's finally got that third Michelin star that it wanted. But I mean, was that also just to learn the finer side of cuisine again? Was it enrich your techniques and customer experience and everything else?
Yeah, it was really tough over there because it was like certainly a very high standards. It was like a lot at stake to get that third star. Everyone's just pushing, doing the best to get there.
Well, without getting into that issue too much, it was some time before it came, wasn't it? But did that mean that things remained quite strict in the kitchen?
I mean, back then it was every day was scary when like the chef walked in. The moment you hear his footsteps, it's like Jurassic Park where like the steps coming in. Yeah,
you felt under the spotlight to perform.
Yeah.
You said that in Nougatine you had to cover all bases because that was the nature of the restaurant. When you were in Jean Georges and Amber, did you have one area in the kitchen that you were mostly responsible for, or did you switch around a lot?
At Jean Georges, I started off at Amuse-Bouche and then moved on to the cold kitchen because like it was a big team. With fine dining, that's what it is. It's a lot of manual labor. It requires everyone's complete focus on that one thing and do it very well. So in a way, it feels very zen while you're working there. In contrast, at Nougatine, it was like everything's happening.
You could suddenly get pulled onto another area when needed.
Yeah, and that's just like real life. Yeah. Jean Georges, I was cold kitchen, and then Amber, I start off at the veg section, and that's where I really will learn a lot because in the veg section it's basically all the hot plates that comes out. Apart from the protein, everything else is what we have to manage. Any like vegetables, purees, sauces, pasta.
All of the carbohydrates.
The carbohydrates, yeah. So I mean, it's like the entry-level chef who work there, but then you are exposed to all these different things. Well, like a lot of people, they would go there and they work for 3 months and they just couldn't take it because like there's so many things that you have to manage. Yeah.
How long were you there for?
I was there a total of 4 years.
So when that ended, or towards the end of that, you had the plan to open your own restaurant. You even had you said you were even thinking about it in America, right?
Yeah. It was the ultimate goal of getting into cooking. With like a accounting background, you kind of know that okay, business is also a part of me. Eventually, cooking and business combine a restaurant. Yeah.
And then how did you come about to think of the Casa Cucina concept? Firstly, if you can define it.
So casa means home or house. So at the original location of this place, it was a 3-story venue. And the moment I walked into it, it's like a house. It's like one of those traditional English houses where like you get 3 floors and you get your living room, kitchen area, your lounging area, your bedroom, and so on and so forth. So how about this would be my house and I'm inviting the guests in and I'll cook for them. And they have like the comfort of being at my home and I'm serving them.
That would be the concept of the interior and the experience that the customer has. But then onto the cuisine. So to go for Italian, Just curious, after working in French and American restaurants, what was the drive for that?
Yeah, basically, as I mentioned, when I was working at Amber, I was exposed to pasta making. And then later on, Amber got into renovation for 3 months. So Mandarin Oriental transferred me over to Bangkok Mandarin Oriental. And it happens to be Italian restaurant over there called Chow. They have this pasta workshop where they would produce pasta to supply for the whole hotel. So that's where I started, being really exposed to making pasta.
Moving on to then what you had in Sai Yung Pun menu-wise and what you have here now, has there been a big evolution?
I would say it's a step-by-step adapting to the market. I only knew that, okay, I can make pasta and I can do it well. And I have that direction of being at home, so it's a casual restaurant. And also the pricing. Italian food, but at a lower price, because it doesn't have to be the price point that it was back then. So I just wanted to be more high-quality Italian food to be more approachable to the market of Hong Kong. Back then, the focus was handmade pasta. And then there was demands for some steak and other things. So we started moving on to meats, different kinds of starters. At first, we were doing it was also a concept of a cicchetti bar.
Just for a definition of that, that's Venetian in origin, isn't it? It's sort of small dishes, savoury.
Yeah, so it's a bit like tapas in Spain. So in Venice, so there's lots of these little wine bars. They have a whole buffet of finger foods. So we started off with that concept also because we had a really nice bar over there. We noticed that drinking is no longer a thing for a lot of people. So then we moved on to how about let's just do some more complicated starters. Also introducing the pizza.
Yeah, that's something you've quite a lot of variety on your menu here, right?
Yeah, a lot of it's for me because I just don't like to have the same dishes or the same menu the whole time. I enjoy coming up with new dishes. We came up with the pizza a few months ago, and it actually took me up to half a year, the R&D.
Tell us what the toppings ended up being.
It wasn't really the topping, it was the dough.
So what was different about the dough?
We added dark beer, and it underwent a cold fermentation process. So basically, I learned making pizza when I was in culinary school. But then when I wanted to bring it to this restaurant, I wanted something different, something that stands out. I wanted to make one of those really puffy Neapolitan pizzas, but it wasn't easy. Which yeast do I use? Step by step, each ingredient, confirming each ingredient. At the end, it was okay. And then how do I make it even more stand out? Okay, why not add some beer to it? Give it that more malty flavor to it. I actually got gluten intolerant. Gluten allergy, allergic reaction.
For a pasta and dough maker?
Yeah, because I was eating so much every day. Constantly.
Has that gone? You said that in the past tense. You got that allergy, or do you still have it a bit?
These days I cut down on carbs for health reasons. So basically I'm under the gluten level, so which is okay. But it's getting rashes on my arms. I Googled it and it's it's those are the symptoms of gluten intolerant. That came into the pizza because when you make a normal pizza, there's all that gluten to make that puffy. But it's actually pretty hard to digest. So we came up with a way to overcome that in our pizza. We undergo a cold fermentation for 2 days. So the gluten converts into glutenine, which is more digestible. As a result, the pizza would be a lot more airy.
And amazing that it came as your way of dealing with your own gluten intake. So we talked about your menu and the way it's been developing, and pizza's a big factor, pasta, and you got onto proteins and starters. But from all of that, where you are right now, what's your favourite dish on the menu, and why is that?
My favourite dish would be the fruity Mediterranean pizza. It's got grapes in it. The idea is to have a really balanced pizza with sweet, bitterness, saltiness, and a little bit of spice, but everything has to be completely balanced. The sweetness from the grapes, bitterness from the pistachios, and then saltiness and umami from anchovy, which we make into a mayonnaise to kind of thin that a little bit out.
It sounds like in many ways from what you've said so far that you're quite experimental, both with dough, toppings, very modern approach.
The thing is with our restaurant, it started off as Italian, But now we moved on into like becoming more of a Italian influence restaurant, because I really don't want the Italian cuisine to be pigeonholed. So I will play around with different dishes from different culinary roots and then try to attach some kind of Italian influences to it.
I asked you about your favourite dish and you mentioned the fruity Mediterranean pizza.
Yeah.
How about from your clients? Are there one or two dishes from your diners in both places during this evolution from Saying Pun to here in Causeway Bay that have been ones that you get the most comments for, that have stayed on the menu because you know people really love them?
It's the tofu panna cotta.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's one of those other dishes that like we play around with different cuisines. Yeah. When we created that, the idea was to have an Italian version of a doufu fa. Yeah. Doufu fa, it's a tofu dessert, local Hong Kong. It's like the most simple recipe. Steamed tofu, cream, and a bit of gelatin. But it took a long time to get right because I want panna cotta to have the same texture as actual tofu. We just have to like work with different amounts of gelatin, cream combination to get that. And on top of that, we have a caramel, which we made with the red sugar that we use for the tofu fa. Yeah. We added some soy sauce to it to give it that salty caramel flavor, but the soy sauce actually adds another flavor to it. Like it's not salty, it's like a malty flavor. Bring it to another level. Yeah.
Going to just change tack to ask. I met while we walked in here one of your staff members who I was going to ask you about. You hired her from RUN, the Hong Kong NGO that helps place underprivileged and challenged, often young local residents with a career in food and beverage. Have you been working with this NGO? What made you get involved?
We've been working with RAN back in Saying Pun. So Joe was the founder. Yeah. Joe So. I really, like when she told me about this, I was really agreeing on what she was going for, because like I do feel that there's a group of people who deserves a chance.
So how long has Chi Wing, that's the name of the person in your restaurant at the moment from the NGO, how long has she been here and how's she doing?
She's been working here for a year now. Yeah. Monday to Wednesday to help us set up the table, grate cheese, divide the egg yolk from our eggs. Yeah. She also do a bit of waitering, always looking for things to do to help out. When she first started off, she would not say anything to anyone. But as time goes, everyone says hi to her, and sometimes she would sit down and chat with you.
I didn't know that she'd been here for a year. As we came in for this interview, you introduced me to her and we just had a chat. She was so warm. Last question for you, Anthony. What are your hopes for the future with Casa Cucina? Is there a second restaurant or more in mind, or are you honing this one and keeping your focus on the one restaurant?
The opportunity's there for more restaurants, but it probably won't be as big as this one. It will be smaller scale, more locations. One of the reasons why we went with the pizza is because it has potential for this kind of like a pizzeria.
Standalone pizzeria.
Standalone pizzeria. It can be a lower budget investment, and it's also accessible for like takeaways, because a takeaway is a big thing these days. So we're training more staff to do that.
Okay, right. Anthony Cheung, thank you very much. You've given us a great insight into this, and good luck with the future of Casa Cucina.
Thank you, Andrew.
That was the founder and executive chef Anthony Cheung of Casa Cucina restaurant in Causeway Bay. Following our interview, the restaurant is now offering the takeaway pizza service that he mentioned. Find out more about the restaurant at its website, which is casacucina.hk, and that's spelt CASACUCINA, then .hk at the end. And I'm lifestyle print, digital and broadcast editor Andrew Dembina, and you've just been listening to the debut podcasts from Being Neighbourly. Keep a lookout for more podcasts on the beingneighbourly.com website. Of course, that is spelled BEINGNEIGHBOURLY.com.